back to Math with Miss Swartz. Today we are starting our geometry unit. We're going to just start with very simple coordinate plane review, nothing too crazy. It should be pretty simple. We want to make sure we understand everything there is to know about the coordinate plane before we start working with our transformations. We're going to talk about what type of transformations we'll be looking at over the course of this unit. And that won't be the only thing we do in this unit, but we want to get a good footing and get started on a good note here. So let's get started and just kind of talk about what is the coordinate plane. So there's a picture over here. You can see, you've probably seen one before. Your bell work, you probably remembered how to plot a point, but we're going to just discuss that again today in our notes. So make sure you have this written down. What is the coordinate plane? Okay, the coordinate plane is just an area formed by the intersecting of the x and y axis. So the x-axis is just a horizontal number line, okay? It works from left to right. You can see it here. This is our x-axis. Acts just like a normal number line. And then we have our y-axis, and they kind of intersect here in the middle. And that is also a number line, but it's vertical instead of horizontal. So make sure you take a second just to write down, okay, what is the coordinate plane? Maybe draw a picture so you know what you're looking at. Within the coordinate plane, we have 4 quadrants. We can label these quadrants, and you can see how they label the quadrants, but they are written in Roman numerals. So we have quadrant 1 here, and this is where your x and your y values are going to be positive. So anytime you see a ordered pair here, you're going to have a positive and a positive because, as you can see, we have positive numbers here and positive numbers here. And then if we move over here, we have our quadrant 2. Our x values are going to be negative and our y values are going to be positive here. Finally, we have quadrant 3. We have negative x values and negative y values. And then lastly, quadrant 4, we have positive x values with negative y values. And then I have listed here, very important, 0, 0 is our origin, as we call it. So make sure you have these written down, an example with your quadrants and what those ordered pairs would be in each of those quadrants. On your bell work, you did an example of each one of those. Okay, so plotting points. You did this in your bell work, but we're going to start at the origin and we're going to move to the x coordinate first, which is going to always work left to right. And then we're going to move the y coordinate and we'll plot that. Okay, so this, our y coordinate is going to be up or down. So one way that helps me remember that is I need to run to the escalator or elevator before I can go up or down. So I have to go side to side before I go up or down. So if I plot these coordinates as some examples, because you will have some problems in your homework where you're plotting coordinates to help you draw a figure. Not so much in this case, but just plotting some coordinates. We're going to go 5 over to the right. I don't know why it's writing there. Give me a second. Oops. The pen is just not working. Try this. Okay. Nope. We're going to go over 5 and up 6. We're going to call that A. Try the eraser one more time. Apologize. All right. For B, we're going to go to the left 4 and up 3. That being in quadrant 2. My best here. Not quite getting where I want to get. There we go. It's going to be B. It's in quadrant 2. As you can see, we have positive, positive, quadrant 1, negative, positive, quadrant 2, negative, negative, over 1 down 4 is in quadrant 3, that's C. And then in quadrant 4, we have positive, negative for D. So hopefully plotting those points will be pretty easy. On your homework, you'll have to plot those points, connect the dots, and draw a figure. Which will lead us into what we're doing more tomorrow and the next day. So that leads us into this section, okay? As we move on with the chapter, the transformations that we're going to be talking about are reflections, translations, rotations, and dilation. So in a reflection, it's kind of is what it sounds like. It reflects across an axis. A translation is just moving a figure, whether it's up, down, side to side. Rotation is rotating a figure. Obviously, it's in the word. So we'll take it and we'll just rotate it a little bit. And then dilation is actually expanding a figure or even shrinking a figure. Mainly, we're going to focus on expanding. So today we're just going to talk about reflecting a point because it's pretty simple and it leads us into eventually reflections, but you also have some examples of that in your homework. So we want to make sure you understand. When we're working with reflecting points, really all it takes is switching the sign of the coordinate whose axis you're reflecting across. So we're going to do these examples. First, we're just going to plot the point in blue. Then we're going to reflect across the x-axis in green, and we'll reflect across the y-axis in red. So you have to bear with me switching my pen color. So A, if I plot this first point, it's going to be 4, 3. So if I want to reflect this across the x-axis, a reflection is just like a mirror. So if I'm going to reflect that in green, let's look at that. What I need to do is I'm going to take my x value and it's going to become, or my x value is going to stay the same, excuse me. I should say switch the sign of the opposite coordinate. Sorry if you already wrote that. And switch this to a negative. Okay, so I'm going to go over 4, down 3. So as you can see, if I folded it over along the x-axis, it would be a reflection. Exactly, they're both 3 away from the x-axis. So if I wanted to do it with the y-axis, then I would have -4, 3, because I would keep my y the same, but the opposite would become its opposite. So I'm going to go over -4, up 3, and if I would fold it over this way, they would be the same distance apart from my y-axis. I'm 4 away, and I'm 4 away. So those are all A. I'm just going to label them all with white, red there. Okay, so let's try B. If I plot B, I have -2, 8. All right, so there it is. If I go ahead and reflect this across the x-axis, I'm going to stay at -2, but now I'm going to be at -2, -8. And the y-axis, I'm still going to be at 8, but instead of -2, I'm going to be at +2. So those are all my B. Points. And lastly, we have C, 0, -5. So, makes it a little bit tricky. But if I want to reflect this across the x-axis, that's not very difficult. I'm just going to change -5 to +5. But it is on the y-axis, so can I reflect it across the y-axis? I cannot, so that's all I would have for my c's. I can only reflect it across the x-axis because it's already, you can't really reflect something that's already there. So you'll have a couple problems like this on your homework. Hopefully you fix this definition in your notes. Switching the sign of the opposite coordinate whose axis you are reflecting across. All right, your homework is actually in your journal, pages 19 and 20. So get your notes checked and then you can get started on your homework. It should be pretty simple. Have a wonderful day. See you next time.